He stands at the glass doors of the nursing home like a man who has been to the top of the world and come back to find it rearranged. The valet in his suit looks small behind him, the city a smear of low autumn light. His shoes are polished to a mirror. His watch is not the only expensive thing on his wrist. There are decisions wrapped around it, choices counted like beads. He tells the receptionist his name, gives the reason, donation, gift, endowment, and the words sound clinical, a press release waiting to happen. The receptionist smiles with efficient warmth, folds the paperwork into a folder, and hands him a visitor's pass. He signs the ledger in a neat, anonymous script and moves through the humming hallway, where the smell of lemon cleaner and medicine hangs like a curtain. He remembers a different hallway. 30 years earlier, he was small enough to be carried in one hand. There was a woman with tired eyes and a laugh like a weathered radio, who would press a scraped knee and stitch together any scraped dignity with the same thread. She told stories about the trains, about a city that shone across the river. She said, "No matter what, you always come back to the people who made you." He remembers the warmth of her palm on the back of his head and the way she hummed off-key when she was alone. He hasn't been back to this place in decades. He is not here as a stalker or a spy. He is here as a man who built a life from the ash of a childhood that didn't promise much. He is here because, last month, his foundation agreed to fund a wing for memory care. After the scandal, after the lawsuits, after the late-night interviews. The cameras will flash. There will be a plaque with his family name etched into it. There's a photo op scheduled with a ribbon that will be cut with heavy gold scissors. His PR team wants a smile that tells everyone this man gives back. He wants something else. At the nurse's station, a young woman in comfortable shoes takes his information and asks who he's here to see. He tells her, as if testing the words, "I want to visit anyone who might remember me." She nods, and something flickers in her eyes. Perhaps recognition of the famous name, perhaps an intuition that not every donation is purely transactional. She makes a call, consults a binder, and then leads him down a corridor where photos of residents hang in frames like a gallery of lives lived in rooms. Down a narrower hallway, the air grows cooler. The sound of a television murmurs, the click of a radio. Doors open into small, sunlit rooms where table lamps throw halos over knitting and newspapers. A woman at a window is folding a sweater. An old man dozes with a crossword puzzle folded into his chest. The world here moves slower, as if time itself takes breath before it moves. The nurse pauses at a door and places a hand gently on the handle. "This one," she says, voice reduced. "She's been here a long time." He feels his mouth go suddenly dry. His heartbeat is a small animal in his ribs. The door opens, and a woman sitting in a wheelchair looks up. Her hair is silvered and thin, braided loosely at the nape of her neck. Her face is mapped with soft lines that make a landscape of a lifetime. Her eyes catch his, and, for a moment, there is a flicker, like lightning that doesn't reach the ground. They look at each other the way two people look at the last photograph they both remember from another life. Time does odd things to memory. It sometimes keeps what matters and discards the rest like a careless editor. The woman tilts her head, as if cataloging. "Do I know you?" she asks, voice like gravel warmed by tea. He swallows. He hears his own voice as if through a glass jar. "Mom." It's absurd to call a woman who is adopted mother in the strict sense of biology, and yet these words are tied to a claim deeper than blood. He says them because they are true in the only way that matters. Her expression sharpens for a second, clarity like a sunbeam. "You look like my boy," she says. "You always had dirt under your nails." Her hand lifts, trembling but certain, and reaches out. He takes the hand, and the skin is papery, the bones like small keys. For an instant, the years between them collapse. He lets himself remember the way she braided his hair, the way she would hum the same off-key song while scrubbing a pan, the way she taught him to pretend that his hunger was a secret she could fix with a grin. "How did you find me?" she asks. He wants to tell her about the shells of houses, about the names that got him through nights. He wants to say he has money now, and that money can't make the past go away, but it can fix things in the present. He wants to trace the map of his life in a way that makes sense to him and to her. Instead, he says, "I didn't know where else to go. I thought maybe you would be here." She laughs in a way that starts like a cough and ends like a song. "You were always dramatic," she says. "You ran off like a stray dog when you were 10. Claimed you were going to be a king. Her eyes narrow. Is that true? He lets out a breath that turns into a laugh. I guess it was. Conversation with a person who has lived in the slow quiet of a care home is like walking on a beach where every step rearranges the sand. She remembers fragments, a cat, the smell of vinegar, and apple pie, as if they're islands she can float to. She can chart some things perfectly. The color blue, the sound of a certain trumpet, the taste of gravy. Other things are scrambled like an old radio with static. Why did you leave? She asks, and there is no accusation. Only the curiosity of someone who cares but has had to survive without answers for a long time. I ran, he says simply. The truth tastes like a coin, metallic and small. I wanted something different. I thought I could come back when it mattered. He hates himself for the sentence. I thought money would fix everything. She shakes her head slowly. It doesn't always fix the pieces you throw away, she says. But sometimes it buys a better chair. The nurse, perceiving that this is a private reunion, backs away and leaves them in the light. He holds her hand longer than a polite visit requires. The building hums, oblivious to the tidal shift in his chest. They talk about small things. She remembers the names of the street vendors, the way the corner store used to give out orange candy to children who pronounced their names wrong. He remembers the time she taught him to patch a bicycle tire at 3 in the morning. He tells her about the cities he's been in, the skylines he has paid to have painted in murals inside his head. He tells her the thing he is least proud of, how he signed papers he couldn't really understand and missed a call one day when she needed him. At some point, a nurse comes with a cup of tea, and she blows on it like a child. He watches the way her fingers move, the bone structure beneath the skin, the small knuckles that can still pinch a rope. He realizes the woman in front of him is not just a relic of memory, but a person who kept on living while the rest of his life took complicated turns. Have they told you why you were left? She asks suddenly, voice pinched in that way people get when they're pulling a thread that matters. Who your real parents were? He closes his eyes. He has heard fragments in the past, a rumor in foster care about a factory fire, an accident, a court case that prevented his name from being changed for many years. He has always been more interested in reclaiming what he had been taught by this woman than in the clinical truth. But there's a ledger inside him that wants names, wants cold facts. Births, hearings, the dates that turned a life into an orphan contract. They said I was found, he answers. On a train platform. People called you the train lady back then. She nods slowly. You liked the trains, she says. You used to make tracks with sticks on the floor. You said you were going to be the driver of the whole world. He laughs, and there is something like a sob in it. I drove a lot of things, he says. Not always well. The conversation is interrupted by silence that doesn't feel like an end. It feels like an opening. He is 20 minutes older than he was when he walked in. He has seen his past recline and breathe. The plaque on the wall about his donation glints in his peripheral vision like a promise unmade. When he gets up to leave, the woman grips his arm with surprising force. Promise you'll come back, she says. Promise you'll bring a pie. He is used to making promises that are press releases, commitments that have been filtered through publicists, time to the quarter. This is not that. He kneels, because decades have compressed into the space between them, and it seems right to lower himself into the old world. I promise, he says. I'll be back. Words mean different things depending on who is speaking and who is listening. For a man who built towers and signed contracts and had people call him sir in restaurants, pledging to come back to a slow-smiling woman in a nursing home is a small, revolutionary thing. Outside, the press will be waiting, though he plans to avoid them for a while. The ribbon is a thing for the cameras. He has a speech in his head, polished and sharp, philanthropy as redemption, giving back to the community that raised him in fragments. He will talk about memory care, about dignity, about responsibility. He wants to say something true about the way the world owes things to the people who raised us. But the truth is messy and irregular and smells like someone's frying pan. He leaves the nursing home that day with a lighter heart and a weight in his pocket. He may have come with a check, a memo, a tax strategy, but he leaves with something that money can't buy directly, an informal reconciliation, a promise etched in air. But life loves a wrinkle. A week later, an old photo surfaces in a local paper. It's a grainy black and white image of a woman with the same tired eyes, holding a small boy by the lip of a train platform. A caption calls her a caretaker. Someone recognizes the man in the photograph, a freelance historian digging through community archives, and posts it online. The internet is a curious animal that eats time and coughs up new angles. The nursing home gets a phone call from a number that wants to confirm the identity of the woman in the picture. The reporter is clever, and the comment section begins to fill with people who remember that there was always a woman on the platform who would give coins to children and show them where the train stopped. She was an unofficial guardian, a fixture described in half-remembered anecdotes. The story becomes a small sensation. The paper wants more. The PR team, which had assumed the donation would be a quiet philanthropic gesture, now sees the potential for a narrative arc that will make headlines. From platform to penthouse, the boy who became a billionaire comes home. They call. They draft statements. They want to schedule a press event at the nursing home, with cameras, with that big ribbon. He has given them the green light before he has time to think. He finds himself in a conference call with producers and hospital administrators. The nurse who first guided him is quiet. The woman who sits in the wheelchair hears the word press, and her hand goes tight on her cardigan. The nurse suggests caution, that the woman's memory is delicate, that flashbulbs and strangers can hurt more than help. The producers promise to be sensitive. The photographer says sensitivity sells less than spectacle. He is used to getting what he wants. It's the habit of power. But this time the woman at the center of it all is not an investment with predictable returns. She is a person with an uneven map of the past and a present that needs small things. Pies, laughter, presents that on the day of the ribbon, the nursing home is awash in cameras. The staff moves like people in a parade. The woman is brought out in a wheelchair, dressed in a blue cardigan that makes her eyes look like twilight. He stands beside her, and a microphone is thrust in front of his face. He speaks the scripted words. This wing will help people who can't stitch their memories together. He talks about responsibility and community. He then steps away from the script, because what he has learned in the last week is louder than any PR line. I was a boy who left, he says, voice steady. I built something from the pieces I had. And I thought if I fixed my world, it would fix the places I left behind. But I learned that you can't make up for years with a ribbon. You can come back, though. You can sit in a room and listen, and you can make sure someone isn't invisible. The microphones drink in the line. The cameras blink. The reporters scribble. But everyone's attention is on the woman in the blue cardigan. She looks at him, and, for a moment that feels longer than the timeline of a whole life, she remembers. You kept your promise, she says, voice small with the fact of being seen. I knew you'd come back for a pie. The crowd swells with a collective inhale. The photographer captures the moment. The PR team breathes. Somewhere, in the Civic Center, an editor assigns the headline. He smiles, his mouth hot with gratitude, because for once the headline will not be about profit from property, but about the simple fact of return. After the ceremony, when the bouquets have been handed out and the ribbon is a neat mess on the pavement, the nurse wheels the woman to a small alcove where sunlight pools like warm coin. They sit together in companionable silence. He brings a pie the following week and another after that. He learns the names of the aides and insists they be paid more. He funds a visiting program that pairs children from nearby neighborhoods with elders who want to tell stories. He sits in the quiet of an afternoon and listens to tales about trains and pies and small heroic deeds that don't make the papers. Not every memory returns. Not every wound finds healing. But small things knit. The woman learns his face, learns the sound of his laugh. Sometimes she calls him by his childhood nickname, and he answers, because hearing it is like being shelled back into himself. Months pass. The foundation's donation becomes a model, and other philanthropists copy the language. He gives interviews where he talks about responsibility. He does not mention the hollow parts. He doesn't need to. The city knows him as a man who built skyscrapers and also looked back. The nursing home knows him as the man who brought pies. Years later, they will make a documentary about the program he funded. They will call it inspiring. On the set, younger versions of him will be described in voiceover as resilient. He will watch the footage and cringe at how neatly trauma is sometimes edited into triumph. In the small room where the woman sleeps now and again, he sits with a hand on her blanket. She dozes peacefully. Her fingers occasionally curl towards his, even in sleep. He realizes that forgiveness is not a grand event. It is the soft business of showing up, of knitting a habit of return. He has given money to libraries and hospitals and scholarships. Those gifts mattered. But this present, shared over a slice of pie and afternoons with a radio that plays songs she remembers, is a currency of a different kind. One evening, when the light is thin and the TV is playing an old sitcom, the woman wakes and turns to him with a smile that contains both mischief and exhaustion. "Remember when you smeared jam on the curtains and blamed the cat?" she asks. He laughs, and the sound is full. "You always knew it was me." She squeezes his hand. "Good boy," she says, as if grading him after a school recital. "You finally learned to come home." He looks at her, and for the first time in a long time doesn't feel like a man juggling legacies and ledgers. He feels like someone who kept a promise. The PR people will call tomorrow. The city will send a certificate. But the important things will not be scheduled. They will be the unspectacular rituals: visiting, listening, learning the names of other residents, bringing pies on Thursdays. He will not do it for a headline. He will do it because the woman who taught him to braid hair deserves someone who remembers to come back. Outside, the trains continue to run, indifferent and faithful. They carry strangers and lovers, and people who get off at stations and never return. He watches the tracks and remembers a boy with food on his face and a woman with tired eyes. He takes his phone out, snaps a picture of the tracks, and then turns it off. Some things are best lived without being framed. At night, when he shuts down the office and the skyscrapers stop humming and the city folds into a softer shape, he goes to bed knowing that the world he helped build has room for the woman in the blue cardigan. He has found a way to keep a promise, and in the quiet after, that feels like enough.